A magnitude 6 earthquake rocks Taiwan. COVID cases fall, but vulnerable groups continue to be hit hard. The U.S. and Taiwan get set to discuss defense and weapons at the Monterey Talks. Reviving history, excavation efforts in Keelung put people in touch with their past. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. A magnitude 6 earthquake was felt across most of Taiwan on Monday morning. There were no reports of injuries or serious damage, though there were some delays on public transport. The earthquake was centered in Hualien County on Taiwan's east coast, an area where earthquakes happen often. The Central Weather Bureau says aftershocks of magnitude 4 or greater may be felt over the coming days. Taiwan recorded 35,596 local COVID cases on Monday, down more than 10,000 on the previous day. Taiwan's Health Minister Chen did not attend the press briefing, despite having completed quarantine after catching COVID. But as James Chater reports, despite falling case numbers, vulnerable groups continue to be hit hard.
Taiwan is over the worst of its COVID wave, say officials. But across age brackets, the virus continues to claim lives. The youngest death confirmed this weekend, a 3-year-old boy with a pre-existing neurological condition. He died last week.
救治的过程中仍然难以控制血压。那在6月14号的时候，因为有这个败血性休克及心肺衰竭的情形，经过医疗团队急救无效而在当天死亡。
A World Health Organization report published last year found a higher risk of death from COVID among patients with neurological conditions. Of the 172 deaths reported in Taiwan on Sunday, 60 had pre-existing neurological conditions, including epilepsy and dementia.
肌肉无力啊，或者是协调不好，所以如果感染到肺炎，很容易会咳痰咳不出来，或者是加重他的病情。
However, doctors remain optimistic cases across Taiwan will continue to decrease.
确诊的案例呢是在减少中，特别是北部地区。我在想7月应该是会回至到1-2万而已的。
More than 5,000 people have died from COVID in Taiwan since the pandemic began. Rick Yi and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
A rocket launcher failed to fire during a routine exercise in southern Taiwan on Monday, causing damage but no injuries. The Thunderbolt 2000 is a multiple rocket launcher system and is made in Taiwan. A missile got stuck in a launch tube, damaging the launch vehicle. Taiwan's Defense Ministry says an investigation is underway. Taiwan and the United States will on Monday begin 3 days of annual security discussions, only the second time they have taken place. The closed-door Monterey Talks in Washington and Maryland will cover weapons and strategies for Taiwan's self-defense. In March, the Biden administration announced a change in its arms sales to Taiwan. The move came amid lessons learned from the Ukraine war and China's escalating threats. To discuss the significance of the talks and the weapons directive, our reporter in Kavat spoke with Rupert Hammond Chambers, who is in Geneva. He's the president of the U.S.-Taiwan Business Council, which is based in the States.
These talks are important right now as we are seeing the most significant shift in U.S. security assistance to Taiwan since the Taiwan Relations Act. The Biden administration is undertaking a turnover of the U.S. arms sales and security assistance policy that we haven't seen since the switch in recognition in 1979. That will direct Taiwan to procure certain items on a list presented by the United States and handle its security assistance engagement with the United States in a very specific way.
But your trade organization, U.S.-Taiwan Business Council, takes a stand against that. Can you tell us why that is?
The Biden administration, in our view, is focusing on only a D-Day style attack when there are a range of issues that Taiwan has to face in all phases of potential conflict with China. To focus only on one area is to provide the PLA and the Chinese generally with an opportunity to focus on those areas the Biden administration is forcing Taiwan not to focus on.
And could you tell our viewers some of the weapons that have been stopped and why you believe they should continue to be stopped?
Although we don't get into specific advocacy with weapon systems with the Biden administration, we talk more generally about the challenge the policy faces. The systems that we're talking about here are designed to hunt submarines in the Taiwan Strait for the Taiwan Navy. They're designed to control Taiwan's new F-16 fleet, the new F-16s that will arrive in 2023 to 26, the ones that are being upgraded, and mobile artillery, which would be used to fight Chinese invading forces that were coming ashore. These three programs have been cancelled.
President Biden, when he was in Japan, said that the US would come to Taiwan's defense in the event of an attack from China. This seemed to move away from the strategic ambiguity policy that US has adopted. How do you think that comment reflects or works with the policy of the new arms sales to Taiwan?
The statement of intent by Mr. Biden is extremely important in potentially making this policy direction that the Biden administration is rolling out workable. Because what in essence it does, the new policy does, is it removes key areas of Taiwan's ability to maintain its own defense in areas like anti-submarine warfare or blockade scenarios. By being specific, Mr. Biden is filling those gaps, or could potentially fill those gaps, by stating categorically, we're not going to sell you anti-submarine helicopters, we're not going to provide you aircraft to control your fighters, but we will do those for you. And we will train with you so that your forces and our forces are able to operate together. That kind of strategic clarity would make this new policy viable. In the absence of that clarity, this new policy creates new vulnerabilities for Taiwan that the PLA would attack.
Japan's largest aquaculture company has launched a campaign to help out fish farmers in Taiwan affected by a Chinese import ban. Beijing this month blocked imports of grouper fish, claiming to have found prohibited chemicals in samples. Taipei says the move is politically motivated. 90% of Taiwan's grouper exports last year went to China, and fish farmers in southern Taiwan stand to lose millions as a result. According to Japanese media reports, fish farming mogul Shinpei Hayashi plans to step in and import grouper from Taiwan. His campaign has adopted the hashtag #DemocracyFish. Since last year, Beijing has banned a range of Taiwanese produce, including pineapples, sugar apples, and wax apples. Japan intervened earlier this year to allow imports of frozen sugar apples from Taiwan. Taiwan's Coast Guard intercepted a Chinese fishing boat trespassing in waters near the Penghu Islands on Saturday. Authorities took 5 crew members into custody and threw 30 kilograms of fish overboard. Such illegal fishing activity is not uncommon. 28 Chinese vessels were detained for trespassing last year. Coming up, a Taiwanese badminton star goes for gold. Details after the break.
Good local time, everyone. Welcome to Innovative Minds with Audrey Tong.
If someone's willing to spend $40 billion to buy Twitter, then that's not going to happen unless he has some very detailed ideas for how he thinks Twitter could be made better. I think the war in Ukraine was definitely a watershed moment for the crypto space in a lot of ways, right? Because the amount of funding that was sent to the both the Ukrainian government and to charities supporting refugees and humanitarian causes, it was large. These are more money than was provided by even some fairly significant nation states. Whatever crypto is going to be, crypto is not going to be nothing. Taiwan doesn't feel like it tries very hard to be impressive. It just kind of tries to be itself. And I think there's something very beautiful about that. I'm Vitalik. See you on TaiwanPlus.
I'm Audrey Tong. See you on TaiwanPlus.
See you on TaiwanPlus.
Yay! Thank you. Speaking like a real radio personality.
I'm Rick Lout for TaiwanPlus. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app.
Bubble tea has become such a big hit in the US that when the bubble tea crisis happened back in 2021, the country was hit hard. Did you know that these chewy tapioca bowls are actually from Taiwan? That's right, it's also where the first bubble tea was born. We started to realize that there's a host of toppings we could add to our teas. If you have ever been to a bubble tea shop, you might have heard something like 无糖少冰去冰半糖. But what does that mean exactly?
Welcome back. You're watching Taiwan Plus News. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is warning that Russia will intensify attacks while the European Union considers Ukraine's bid to become a member country. Ukraine applied to join the EU in late February, just 4 days after Russia invaded. The European Commission has already expressed its support for the bid, but all 27 member states of the EU have to agree to Ukraine becoming a candidate country. Zelensky warned of increasing violence ahead of an EU meeting this week.
Очевидно, що варто очікувати від Росії посилення ворожої активності спеціально показово саме цього тижня. І не тільки проти України, але й проти інших країн Європи. Ми готуємось. Ми готові.
Heavy monsoon rains have displaced over 3 million people in Bangladesh. At least 25 people have died in landslides and by lightning following weeks of heavy rain. The government is sheltering 200,000 people on higher ground and says it's the worst flooding in recent history. Environmentalists warn climate change could lead to more of these disasters, especially in low-lying areas with dense populations. A former guerrilla fighter has been elected the first ever leftist president of Colombia. Gustavo Petro narrowly won a runoff election on Sunday against a political outsider millionaire. Petro was a rebel with the now-defunct M19 movement in the 1980s. He was granted amnesty after being jailed for his involvement with the group. His election marks a tidal shift in Colombia, where the left had been stigmatized due to its association with armed conflict. Petro's victory follows similar victories for left-wing candidates in Peru, Chile, and Honduras. Thousands gathered for Singapore's largest LGBTQ event named Pink Dot on Saturday. Attendees, mostly clad in pink, pushed for greater inclusion and visibility of the LGBTQ community in Singapore. Gay sex is illegal in a country under a colonial-era law, though it is rarely enforced. The rally has been held 14 times since 2009. This year's rally was the first in-person event since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic 2 years ago. And for the first time, 2 Singaporean lawmakers attended. The world governing body for swimming has banned transgender women from participating in women's competitions from Monday. The ban passed with a more than 70% vote, only exempts those who started transitioning by age 12. FINA, which governs international aquatic events, says that it will explore creating an open category as an alternative for trans women athletes. FINA's president says the ruling is meant to protect athletes' rights.
We have to protect the rights of all our athletes to compete. But we also have to protect competitive fairness at our events, especially women's competition, and also the past record and achievement of the women.
Taiwan's badminton ace Tzu-ying won the women's singles title at the Indonesia Open in Jakarta on Sunday.
Oh my goodness. That is sensational. Tzu-ying showing her.
The world number 2 beat Wang Zhiyi of China to clinch her second championship of the year following the Thailand Open last month. The win was a welcome birthday present for Dai, who turned 28 on Monday. She will be going for a hat trick of titles for the season at the Malaysia Open later this month. Taiwan table tennis star Ling Yunru has claimed the men's singles title with a straight set of victory at the World Table Tennis Contender. Known as the Silent Assassin, the world number 8 only took 38 minutes, sweeping all 4 games to grab the gold. He beat Xiang Peng of China to capture the title at the international tournament in the Croatian capital, Zagreb. It's the 20-year-old's first singles title of the year. Lin is an Olympic medalist, having won bronze for mixed doubles at the 2020 Tokyo Games. Archaeologists have spent years retrieving artifacts and remains from the ruins of Fort San Salvador, built by the Spanish in Keelung hundreds of years ago. We take a look at how these efforts are bringing Keelung residents together and giving them a new appreciation for their city's history.
1895年马关条约后，日本人由清朝人手中接收台湾。日治时期，随着和平岛新建造船厂，圣萨尔瓦多城从此消失在地平线上。那么，我们还有机会再看见这座城吗？没有这座城，我们还可以凭借什么古迹文物来见证西班牙在台湾的这段历史呢？2009年，由历史学家包小欧以及考古学家臧振华所领导的台湾团队，与 Maria 博士的西班牙 CSIC 团队拟定了一项国际合作，计划寻找圣萨尔瓦多城的足迹。为了避免干扰造船厂的工作，考古团队无法动手发掘圣萨尔瓦多城，转而从位于堡垒附近的诸圣教堂着手。
A veces durante ese trabajo había momentos en donde ocurrían cosas imprevistas que reflejaban muy bien la vida de la ciudad, la vida de la isla.
And this is very important. It should be also protected, and we have to focus on this long-term history. Not only on the colonial remains, which are really spectacular, but also on the little histories that can be said and told from the archaeological record in this long-term perspective.
2016年，在发掘诸圣教堂的过程中，出土了3具欧洲人遗骸和1具原住民小孩瓮棺。3年后，由文化局邀请，西班牙考古团队再次来到基隆，与台湾考古团队进行跨国合作，延续前3期的成果。2019年的考古计划不断有新进展，基本上完全确认教堂遗址，更出土了具有象征意义的十字架。
和平岛这个公共停车场也的确是埋藏了大量的从新石器时代一直到近代的不同时代的这些人类文化的这些遗留，因为这些文物都需要去清洗，要去编号、拼凑，要复原， 最后呢就要做很多的研究工作、分析的工作，来加以推测，希望能够了解到这个遗址的内涵，还有评估它的价值。
这些重大发现仍需要考古团队进一步研究，但都说明了和平岛在台湾历史发展的脉络中扮演的重要角色。10年来，除了台湾以及来自西班牙考古团队的努力外，历次参与考古发掘的还有国际考古学家和研究人员，从不同专业切入，想从遗址中寻找蛛丝马迹，帮助世人更加了解那个年代所发生的一切。
So the reason I'm here in Epindao is we would like to know, according to the time period we are excavating, which plants have been used and which plants have been eaten.
In particularly, of course, interesting for me as a geneticist is the petrous bone, which is the part of the skull inner ear. We have made the experience it's much more likely to contain high amounts of DNA even after a long period of time.
这个遗址它其实提供了非常非常丰富的资讯，不同人来这里，可能跟你生命交汇的那个方式不一样，所以你可以看到的东西很不一样，这样子。
仿佛历史再度给了和平岛一次机会，透过考古计划，国际与在地力量结合，重现当年多元族群聚集的景况，一起为和平岛寻找重拾荣光的契机。中世纪时，罗马宫廷流传着一个传说，在遥远的东方有一位祭司王约翰，他统治了一片充满财宝和珍禽异兽的基督教国度，富庶的难以想象。曾随父亲和叔叔通过丝绸之路游历中国的马可波罗，在他的著作《马可波罗游记》中也提到了中国与日本拥有着无尽的黄金、香料和宝石。面对这些传说，激起欧洲人对亚洲的无限遐想与付诸行动的追寻。而身处亚洲的我们，对于本地的想象又是什么呢？
一个彩绘的一个活动，用大家的想象力，可以去描绘你心中的圣萨尔多城什么样子。
我们会带大家去重新感受一下和平岛的一些在地的一些气味，
海产的味道，吊烧什么的，几乎烂的味道。
有没有想过要用什么方式来建一座城呢？曾经西班牙人带来天主教信仰，也带来西班牙的生活文化，更用他们的方式建造了一座坚固的堡垒。而现在的和平岛上，也有一群人用他们的方式打造一座无形的文化城堡。
其实台湾考古遗址很少是这样子，在发掘期间欢迎就是大家来参观，只要你愿意进来，你问任何问题，我们都就是愿意回答。那另外一个部分的话，我们的考古工人主要都是就是在地的工人嘛。那其实我们也从他们那边学到，比我们预习多很多的东西。其实很少有这个机会是真的可以跟当地人有这么多的互动，产生出像你看学生们他们跟李先生的家人，他们其实不是只是说就是大家 teamwork 只是在那里工作而已。
我希望它变成什么样子？
像过去一样，大航海那个积极、热情、奔放、自由，
就好像是对于你一个你之前已经爱过的人，可是你重新发现他一个新的面貌，然后你再一次爱上他的话，
其实基隆现在慢慢爱上自己。
也许有一天他们会，在不同的时间，然后重新看见自己故乡的特别更好。
那我觉得这当然是就是一件很美好的事情。
孩子们想家的时候会愿意回来的地方。
见不止一种方式，见不止一种观点，觉与觉提供不同方式的切入。人们透过向下的考古发掘、历史调查，以及向上的艺术创作、当代生活、文化走读，把属于和平岛的历史脉络爬书传递。这种绝古现今的呼应，让400年前已深埋地底看不见的圣萨尔瓦多城，成为再见和平岛的一个触媒及契机。
Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. Finally, today we'll leave you with images of a 240-meter-long diamond-shaped footbridge spanning the spectacular Dabashi Canyon in the nation of Georgia. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app. Stay safe and see you next time.